Senator Colbeck.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was wondering if you'd be upset if the federal government knew of a risk that has a better than 12% chance of happening in the next decade and could result in a death of 9 out of 10 Americans. Yet they didn't do anything effectively to take steps to protect against it. Sadly, that is the case today. What is the risk? It's an electromagnetic pulse directed at our electric grid, either as a result of a solar flare or attack by an enemy. Do you remember the blackout of 2003? During that event, the power outage duration was measured in days. An EMP event would result in a power outage for months or even years. Such an outage would go well beyond temporary inconveniences experienced in 2003, such as traffic signals and lighting. Without power, most of us would have no water to drink or any support for our sanitation systems. We would have no diesel for trucks to bring food into grocery stores. All of the critical infrastructure that support modern civilization would be paralyzed by a collapse of the electrical power grid. So I know you guys are thinking about this right now. Is this something that's really possible? Is this just some pie in the sky thing? Well, it's not just me saying it. According to a congressional task force on the national and homeland security headed by Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, as recently as 2013, North Korea was caught flying a satellite over the United States in the optimum trajectory for an EMP attack to take down the grid in 48 states. They have also been caught with nuclear-capable SA-2 missile launchers on freighters passing through our coastal waters. Coincident with the North Korean satellite flyby, parties unknown attacked Metcalf substation in Silicon Valley with AK-47s that would have disabled the power in the region for months. In June of 2014, Al-Qaeda used mortars and rockets to destroy key components of the Yemen infrastructure, plunging the whole nation of 24 million people into darkness. In March of 2015, Turkey suffered a temporary nationwide blackout, likely as a result of a cyber attack by Iran. Even if no enemies attack our grid, in a 2015 White House executive order acknowledging the EMP threat, NASA estimates that the likelihood of a catastrophic geomagnetic superstorm over the next decade on the order of the one which narrowly missed the Earth on July 23, 2012, is better than 12%. So what are we doing about it? Well, the federal government, frankly, is doing nothing substantive on the matter. It is now up to the states to act, and act quickly. So what can states do? As it turns out, much more than I had originally thought when I started to investigate this matter. While most local efforts to harden our grid to date have been focused upon physical security such as fences and cybersecurity, relatively little has been done to shield key components from an EMP blast. Some of these components are no longer manufactured in the United States, resulting in lead times of over 1 year from German and South Korean sources. We could significantly reduce the risk of prolonged power outages due to an EMP, while also enhancing physical security by enclosing these key components in Faraday cages coupled with enhanced physical security and installation of high-performance surge suppressors. Furthermore, we can shield the storage garages containing utility vehicles and equipment necessary to repair other components of the grid. Now, hardening the grid typically has bipartisan support. It's not an issue as to whether or not we need to do something. As usual, though, it comes down to money. Now, how much would it cost to take these steps to go off and harden the grid? Well, based upon similar efforts in other states, a one-time expenditure for approximately the same amount of money that we used to spend annually on the film credit program, which is $50 million. As with most things in government, it comes down to priorities. I believe that protecting us from a reasonable risk to the lives of 9 out of 10 of our citizens should be at the top of our priority list. So if you agree, I encourage you to join me in state-based efforts to harden Michigan's grid. We need an immediate assessment of the vulnerabilities of our electrical grid to EMP events and specific steps in Michigan that are needed to mitigate this risk. Public safety should be our highest priority. Let's make that clear to those we serve by taking tangible steps to harden Michigan's grid. I'd like my remarks added to the journal, please.
Senator Colbeck has asked that his remarks be printed in the Journal. Hearing no objection, it is so ordered.